Hey y'all, it's Andre, and I'm in Hong Kong! So I'll be studying abroad in the fall, which is very exciting for me, but I always had this mindset that I'm not gonna say anything until it actually happens because I'm very skeptical and I don't know where that mindset came from, but this whole journey to get to Hong Kong really proved to be true. So let me tell y'all the whole story of getting to Hong Kong. So it took us like a few days to get there. It was only supposed to take us 2. But we just experienced so much mess and it was a lot. But before we even got to the airport to get to Hong Kong, it was like really nice. I only got a few days back at home in Philly because I just came back from a trip and I wanted to utilize that time to spend time with family and also friends, so it was like really nice. And during that time I got my COVID test because you were supposed to get your COVID test 72 hours before the flight. So of course I did that because I want to follow safety protocols and all that. So yeah, the day finally came. It was Saturday and I didn't end up packing until like 12 a.m. the night before, which you're not supposed to do, but I did anyways. And I didn't fall asleep until 4 that night. And I was picking up my friend who is also going to Hong Kong, and I woke up late and then it's just like a whole thing. But of course we made the plane on time as we should and all was fine. So we had 3 connecting flights. We went to Philadelphia to Toronto, and then Toronto to Vancouver, and then Vancouver to Hong Kong. So in Toronto we only had like a few hours, but it ended up being just enough time for us to like get our baggage and like put it onto the next connecting flight, and then all was fine. So we waited until our next plane, but then when we arrived in Vancouver we had a 14-hour layover, and that is kind of where everything kind of fell apart because we had a 14-hour layover and it was either stay in the airport or go out and explore. So of course we chose the latter. We wanted to see Vancouver and what it had to offer instead of staying in the airport the whole time because, well, why not? So we did that, and we had to just like leave our baggage there, which was like really nice because we just had to carry our book bags and all that we had, and we went out for the night. So once we landed, we kind of wanted to like figure out like our plan for the night. So we decided to like find a hotel, but considering the fact that it was like 7 p.m. at that point, like it was so hard to find a hotel that could book so last minute, and we just couldn't find one. But we just said, let's go to Chinatown and like see what there is over there. Like at the very least we could get dinner, and if we don't find a hotel we can come back to the airport. So we ended up going to Chinatown, and we wanted to go to this Cambodian restaurant because we're like, we all have like that cultural background together, so we wanted to share that and see how it is over there. But the restaurant ended up being a lot more packed than we expected it to be. So we decided to keep walking around, and eventually we ended up at the Chinatown gates, and that's where we found our hotel for the night. It just like so happened by coincidence, like we were very lucky. So there's 3 of us, so we got to the hotel and like we said, there's a hotel for 3, like is there any room? He said no initially, but then right when we walked out, he like approached us and he's like, hey, like somebody just called and they canceled their room, like there's like a room that literally just opened up for 3 people, and like we just got so lucky with that. So it was really cool to like have that experience, and we got dinner and then that was that. So then the next morning we had to wake up at 5 in the morning because our flight left at 8:30, so we had to arrive like 2 hours before our flight. So we got to the airport as we normally would, and like, we went through like baggage check and security, all that stuff. And then once we got to the airport, the boarding gates, they checked all of our information, our documents, our passports, all that, and our COVID test. So the lady checked everything, but then once we got to our COVID test, she notified us that we took our COVID test a little over 72 hours after. And that was the deal breaker for us. So that meant we couldn't get to Hong Kong, we couldn't get on the plane, and we were stuck in Vancouver. I was just in a state of shock because we were thinking about this trip for like months at this point, and it was just like really disappointing. Like what? But anyways, like it was so devastating. I like truly remember thinking like I felt defeated. So basically what we had to do was we had to take another COVID test, we had to rebook our flight and email our hotel in hopes to reschedule. So it's like 8 a.m. at this point, so we had to wait until like 10 a.m. when everything was starting to open. And fortunately there was a COVID testing center in the airport, But the thing is, like, we had to pay, which, like, fine, like, we had no choice but to pay. But this whole thing is the fact that, like, the whole trip was on the premises that we wanted to save money. Because obviously, like, being, like, college students, like, we have to, like, save and, like, conserve as much as we can. But in the end, we ended up paying the same amount as we normally would with, like, regular ticket. Because we waited, like, until the very last minute to book our plane tickets. Moral of the story is, like, don't book the cheap ticket because it's not worth it. All this like mess that you're going through, it's just like not worth it. And maybe this is a very unique situation because of everything with COVID, but just don't. It's not worth it. So we had to wait until the COVID center opened up, and finally it did. So we all went one by one, and it was like in and out, which was like very nice. But we had to pay for it, which kind of sucked, but like we had to. And once the COVID test was done, they told us it would take 48 hours, but the thing is, we couldn't rebook our flight until we got our results. And it was very risky to do it the next day, but we decided to like hold off on it until the morning of when we got our results, just so we could like be secure. We emailed our hotel. Unfortunately, like they were understanding of the situation, so we got to do all that and just like have everything situated. But at this point, our baggage had to like be taken off the initial flight to Hong Kong. So we were stuck with our bags. Like keep in mind we have like 6 suitcases total, and it was such a hassle. Oh my god. But we didn't want a day to go to waste because it was so early in the day, like we had a whole day ahead of us. So we decided we wanted to go out again to explore in Vancouver. Fortunately, we found a hotel and we booked it. Surprisingly, like there were a few hotel shuttles that took us to the hotels. So we got off at the shuttle, but we had to walk 15 minutes to our hotel with all of our luggages. Like keep in mind there's 3 of us, so like imagine just walking down the street in your car or just driving around and like seeing 3 people in a row carry like 2 suitcases, their book bags and everything. It was so much. That was such an experience. Those were like the longest 15 minutes of my life. That was a lot. Finally, like we got to the hotel and we like put our stuff down, we like rested and relaxed for a minute, and like everything was good. And this is like the first time like we actually like dressed up and like went out and stuff like that. So it's like a really nice to like have that experience because we went to a Vietnamese restaurant. There were like a lot of shopping plazas around, and we got boba, and at night we went to a night market, and that was such a great experience. Like I really love the fact that we went there because it was like such a nice experience to like see all these vendors and like just see all these people around, and it was really nice. And like towards the end of the night we were ready to go because like we were all tired, but like we were watching performances on stage, and then we were just about to leave, but right as we were about to leave they started playing Blackpink. And once I hear Blackpink, like that's my shit. So of course I had to like run up on stage and dance. So I danced to Blackpink and I performed for like a minute, and that was like really cool. So we got back to our hotel, and then like we fell asleep as we should because with the mindset that we had to wait 48 hours, we weren't expecting our COVID results to come in time. However, we woke up the next morning at 7 a.m. and our results came in at 1 a.m. That early, like not even 24 hours after. And we were so shook, but it was such an in the moment thing. Like we were like, we have to leave now unless like we're not gonna make our flight. So we like rushed everything. Like we packed everything like within a span of like 5 minutes, and like we called the front desk. We're like, okay, can the hotel shuttle take us to the airport like right now? We ended up getting downstairs to check out and stuff like that. The shuttle driver, he had to check our rooms to make sure nothing was left behind and stuff like that, and we ended up getting to the airport at 7:45. Keep in mind our flight left at 8:30 in the morning, so we had to like be there like right then and there. So like we got our carts and stuff like that. We like ran across the terminal to like make it to the front desk to like tell them our situation and like hopefully get on the flight the same day. However, unfortunately, we like just missed it. Like had we arrived like 10 minutes earlier, like we could have had a chance to make it, but unfortunately we couldn't, and that was that. Another day of defeat. And then at that point it just felt like a whole routine of just like waking up early in the morning in hopes to make a flight and then being disappointed the next moment. So that day it ended up raining in Vancouver, so we decided to stay at the airport until our flight the next day. So after like we were told we weren't allowed on the plane, we like ended up calling our airline like for hours, just like sitting there like trying to like get our flight booked, and we ended up having to pay extra. So that's why I said like it's not worth it to buy the cheapest plane ticket, because in the end we ended up paying full price and just a whole lot of mess. So we stayed in the airport and like we were very tired, so we basically spent the day sleeping and like catching up on homework and stuff. Keep in mind like we also like are taking classes, so it's like a whole bunch of like mess, but we made the best out of the experience and like I'm not mad at it. I mean, of course I am annoyed, but like in those situations, like you just kind of have to just keep going and you have to like just persevere through it and like find ways. Finally the next day came around and we got on a flight to Hong Kong. It was a 13-hour flight, so we each got our own rows, which was very nice because I got to like lay down and sleep like as I should, and like we got meals, pillows and blankets and all that, so it's like a really nice experience like beyond that. And this was my first international flight, so it was a really cool experience. I'll detail all the quarantine stuff in like another video maybe, but yeah, that was the journey to Hong Kong, and now we're in the middle of quarantine over here. We have to quarantine for 14 days with an additional 7 days of self-monitoring. So it should be an interesting experience, but I'm just very grateful that we are in Hong Kong right now. It's like still hard for me to believe that we are here, but yeah, that's the story. And yeah, I'm very appreciative that like I did not go through this experience alone. Like I can't even imagine like what I would do, or like if I could survive this experience alone. Yeah, I'm very grateful and very appreciative of them to like hold me down and all that. But yes, I'm in Hong Kong studying abroad, and that's that. So I'll see you all soon. Without further ado, I'm gonna slay and bye.